After watching the Mets lose 3 games in a row, it is clear that this team could still use some work to be that team that we want them to be, a team that could win the World Series. So in this video, Andrew Acevedo and I, one of my Mets Weekly colleagues, are going to talk about some starting pitchers that the Mets could potentially target around the trade deadline. There's no reason why they can't do it now, but we talk about some different starting pitchers the Mets could look at, guys that are realistically going to get moved, guys that are less likely and may have some ridiculous asking prices. This video is part of a much longer video. On Andrew's channel, we talk about the DH options for the Mets, and then sometime later this week, him and I will both upload the bullpen guys that the Mets could target, as well as some bench options too. So hope you guys do enjoy this video. You know what to do, hit that like button out of the ballpark, slide into the comment section. What are some starting pitchers you would like the Mets to target, and what kind of players would you be willing to give up? Because we know that starting pitching is so important that it usually costs the most in a trade. So you really have to give up some guys that you may not want to. Could be Mauricio, Matt Allen, Vientos, that ideally we'd like to hold on to, but it costs a lot to get these big time pitchers. And if you're new here, you can subscribe, and if you're subscribed already, tell a friend, neighbor, stranger, coworker, anybody. I mean, whatever it takes to help out my channel, it is always greatly appreciated. I really appreciate the support I got in my last video talking about the Angels and Mariners brawl. Everybody that watched and commented really made my day to see that kind of support. Would love to keep it going. And if there are more actual fights that happen, you best believe there will be some videos. Not like the one with the Blue Jays and Red Sox, where there was only some shoving, so wasn't a huge brawl with fists being thrown and sunflower seeds being thrown. But let's get into the video.
What is going on, guys? Andrew Acevedo here, back with another video. It is officially MLB trade deadline season. So we're officially about a month away from the MLB trade deadline, and the New York Mets will enter the month of June in first place. And they are a great team that is still flawed, like any team. No team is perfect. And I'm here, and I brought, of course, my Mets Weekly cohort, Frank About Sports. He's all linked in the description. Frank, what's going on?
Not much, Andrew. Let's get into some making improvements, because as we've said on Mets Weekly, like, it's been good, but it certainly could be better, because we've seen a lot of ugly things and some players that, you know, Buck just completely avoids. And it's like, you want to have competent players everywhere that you trust, all the way from player 1 to player 26, and just having that depth just in case any early guys get hurt. At least we brought in some backup guys. You know, in a situation like last year, you get 1-2 guys, something happens, injury, and then you're like, oh, well, too late now. The deadline passed.
I'm going to have a tier system. Tier 1 will be the guys that I think are most likely going to be dealt by the August 2nd deadline. That being 1, either their team sucks, 2 is a rental, and those teams need to capitalize on adding assets to value you're going to lose in the offseason. Tier 2, guys who I think are 50-50 to get moved. Maybe they hold on, and maybe their team's dumb. Maybe it's the Colorado Rockies. They don't know how to asset manage. Maybe they hold on to a guy, maybe they don't. And then tier 3 is either 1, it's going to cost you an arm and a leg. 2, a team with better assets will probably go after him and have a better package than the New York Mets. Or 3, I just hope they don't do it, but that's what a lot of people like, so I put them in the video. A position that going into the season, we didn't think we needed to add more of. But obviously, if you put a Met uniform on, your arm is as fragile as a piece of glass. Starting pitching. Obviously, the biggest question mark is Jacob deGrom. He has done well in bullpen sessions. He's probably going to throw another session and go on a rehab assignment, but he's still a little bit away. Max Scherzer, hopefully back this week in the beginning of July. But obviously, Tylor Megill has Jacob deGrom syndrome, that he is always getting hurt. And obviously, you've had Carrasco pitch pretty well. Taijuan Walker is the pitcher who gets lucky. And then Trevor Williams has been good. I always say, if you think you have enough pitching, you don't. And then David Peterson has also pitched well for the Mets. But the Mets could definitely add another quality now with McGill's injury starter in the rotation. So we'll start with the tier 1 guys. There's already been links. John Heyman tweeted out a couple of days ago. The Mets and the Cincinnati Reds have already discussed Luis Castillo. And the other guy in tier 1 is Oakland A's right-hander Frankie Montas. This year's pitching market is going to be interesting. There really isn't any rentals out. There's a couple, which we'll get to, in the lower tiers. But if you're looking for, there's not a Max Scherzer like last year. There isn't, you know, that quality of number 1 true ace. It's these 2 guys. And these 2 guys are unique pitchers. I don't think, a couple years ago when Luis Castillo was making all-star games and he was, the Yankees were trying to get him and they were asking for Glaber when he was hot. and all their whole farm system from the Yankees. Frankie Montas, I particularly don't love. I know when the Mets were interested in the A's guys in the offseason, he was the one I wanted the least. For me, it was Bassett, then Manaea, then Montas. He does have a live arm. They're both under contract for next year, both hitting ARC3 next year, and then free agents after the 2024 season. I think, again, the price tags for both are going to be very high, and we'll start with a Ronnie Mauricio or a Mark Vientos. Frank, if you had to pick one of these arms, gun to your head, you got to pick one, the Mets to pursue, which one and why?
It is super tough because these guys are really similar, and their way they pitch every now and then, they have good stuff, but like I say, sometimes with good stuff, it could be a good thing, it could be a bad thing. Sometimes they get a little wild. They've gotten better, both of them, especially Castillo. His walk rate has decreased from where it was. I mean, there were times we were seeing per start, Castillo's walking like 3 batters, 4 batters. It's gotten better. He spent most of the beginning part of the season injured. But then Luis Castillo came back. He struggled when he first got back off the IL. He's starting to right the ship a little bit, getting back closer to what he was. And then with Frankie Montas, he's just been solid all year, under the radar all year. And one thing I would like about Frankie Montas is that if you bring him in, Chris Bassett, I think something that does not get talked about enough. He's been the assistant pitching coach. This guy has been on the iPad or just in general talking to all of the starting pitchers constantly. He has done such a great job of helping these young guys, helping Tyler McGill when he was pitching, helping Taijuan Walker. He's just done such a great job of that, being very vocal with these young guys. And I think that somebody like Frankie Montas, who we spent a lot of time with in Oakland, I think he'd be just another guy he'd be leading and just helping out and making sure Frankie Montas does a good job. And you give Frankie Jeremy Hefner with that kind of stuff, I mean, he might be pretty good, but I think that I would not be too crazy pursuing either one of these guys because we know what it costs to get a tier 1 starting pitcher, and especially via trade. It costs so much. And like we said, the Mets have just so little. The top half is good, but it's top half. There's only a few like really good guys, so you don't want to lose 2 of them. I think it could cost 2 of at least the top 10 guys. I mean, that's what you're looking at if you're going after either one of these guys. So I think that obviously in the ideal world, Jacob deGrom is pitching. But I think more realistically, I think Max Scherzer will pitch for the Mets. I think he'll make it through the season. And then you have Bassett, you got Carrasco. Eventually, maybe McGill comes back in. You have Walker, and then you get one of these other guys we're going to get to later. I don't think you need to do a tier 1. Knowing what it costs, knowing how little of the farm system you have, I just don't think it'd be the best move for the Mets. As much as I love starting pitching, as important as it is, cost, especially when, like you said, guys really out there. And other teams need a number 1, need a number 2, much more than the Mets do. And they're going to put together some crazy offers. I mean, I really fear that Luis Castillo has been on the trade block for so long now. And the reason why he has not been traded is because Cincinnati has such a crazy asking price for him. I really fear that they're looking for the Jose Barrios package, which you and I both know you don't do that trade package. It's just not smart business. So if I had to pick one, I would take Montas, but I think that the other guys we're going to get to is where I'm looking because the price is just way too much for starting pitching.
Yeah, I think I said this again in the former Mets Weekly video. I think it was the reliever or the hot take video that I think – last year, it was a seller's market where rentals were going for again, PCA was traded for Baez and obviously the Austin Martin, Simone Woodruff is in for Barrios move. So obviously we had the first kind of trade with the Carlos Santana trade to Seattle, which of course leave it to Jerry Dipoto to be the first guy to make a trade. What's new there? But I think once we need to see one of these guys maybe in tier 2, July 31st, August 1st, 2nd type trade. Barring a team that says, you know what, enough's enough, we need it. Here's our best offer now, and we'll give you 2, 5, and 7 in our farm system, which the Mets can't. They can, but it'd be very stupid. I do think there's a prospect that Mets fans are holding high in regard. I think is expendable, and it's not who you think it is. That'll be in the next video because of this draft. And the fact that, we have a ton of picks in this first 100 picks, we have 5 picks already. So you can replenish a farm very well and also do the international sign. So I think there's ways to influx a farm system very quickly or help move it forward. But obviously you don't want to trade a bunch of guys. So since you're not biting at the chicken parm level, are you going for a hot dog? Not even hot. No, you're going for a cheeseburger. nice little value menu. And here in tier 2, of course, one of your favorites, Tyler Malley, 27-year-old right-handed starter, pitched a gem, I believe, yesterday against the San Francisco Giants, I believe. Yesterday, 6 2/3, gave up 3 runs, quality start. But again, against the Giants on the road, pretty solid start. He has a contract for next season as well. He'll be an RB3. Martin Perez, the standout, random out of nowhere pickup for the Texas Rangers. I think he's top 5 in ERA, pure ERA merchant, as a rental free agent at the end of the season. And the first of many, as you'll see, Arizona Diamondbacks pitchers. Merrill Kelly, the 33-year-old, has 3 years left, 2 years guaranteed. A third year is a club option, making him a free agent in 2026. Quality 3s and 4s. I think this is what you can say comfortably these guys are. There is maybe guys with high upside. Maybe, there's a certain guy who pitches in a small ballpark, put him in a bigger ballpark. What does his numbers look like? So I know you want to talk about him. Go nuts. I know who you're going to pick. Go off about your guy.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick with him. I mean, I'm loyal to a fault, you could say. I mean, even when a guy I like is struggling, I still stick with him. I never give up. And Tyler Malley, I think he's been a guy where the numbers are misleading. I think the more you look at Tyler Malley, you'll see the ERA, the traditional 4.53. Oh, that's not very good. But then when you look at the FIP of 3.38, you're like, okay, not so bad. And you see the expected ERA of 3.31, you're like, oh, okay, so maybe he's getting a little unlucky. And what's crazy about Tyler Malley is that he had that really solid year last year where he was, mid to low 3s as far as ERA. But this year, his FIP is better, his Sierra is better, but the actual ERA is worse. And I think a lot of that has to do with pitching in Great American Small Park, as I like to call it, because it is such a tough ballpark. And I've talked about Tyler Malley extensively on numerous occasions, but what I still like about him, he is 27 years old. He's a guy that is very durable still. I mean, this is 2 years in a row where he's making every single start every 5 days, which is exactly what this Mets team needs. Because like you said earlier, if you're a pitcher for the Mets, all of a sudden your arm is made of glass. We've seen DeGrom, constant injuries. Max Scherzer had his injury. Tyler McGill can't stay healthy. Carlos Carrasco left the starter early. Good thing he's okay. Tyler Walker, you can't count on him making it through the year healthy. He already had a couple, injuries here and there. So you need a guy that has a proven track record of being durable. So I think that Tyler Malley fits. And the reason why I like Tyler Malley is because he doesn't cost what Luis Castillo costs. I think you can get Tyler Malley for a pretty reasonable package while he can still help out your team. And he's a guy that we don't need anything crazy. If everybody's fully healthy, Malley's your 5, maybe even go put him in the bullpen in the playoffs or something like that. He doesn't cost much. You don't expect much out of him. But you mentioned another guy that I've been high on since last year as well, Merrill Kelly. He's another guy that I really like. Also, FIP lower than his ERA, 3.64 ERA, 3.32 FIP. He's a guy that he's just been a solid pitcher who flies under the radar. A lot of people don't talk about him. He makes every start. I mean, he's not going to cost a lot because he's not one of those guys that's like, oh my gosh, he's such an ace. We have to give a crazy package. Because you mentioned Martin Perez. That's the guy I'm afraid of. I mean, anytime that a pitcher all of a sudden has this amazing year, you have to be like, oh, wait a second here. I mean, how did that happen? I mean, when we have known that this guy was a good pitcher prior to that. So I always get a little worried, especially when it's the first half of the season, because we saw what happened to Yusei Kikuchi. We saw what happened this year to the reigning Cy Young, Robbie Ray. So it is possible that, all of a sudden things don't work out. The hitters catch on, and all of a sudden the guy's not as good. So I take the guy that has a little bit more, and he's trendy. He's hot. So you feel like Martin Perez is probably going to cost more than he probably should because he does have, that really strong ERA, and that's what a lot of fans would be clamoring for. So I like Malley, I like Kelly because, like I said, the Mets don't need to go crazy to get a pitcher. They just need somebody they can count on every 5 days that can just put together a quality start, give you your 5 to 6 innings to rest the bullpen a little bit. Not like Trevor Williams only giving you 4 innings, So, and these guys, they have walk rates under 10%. Tyler Malley's fly ball rate is higher than you would like it to, but again, even despite that, his numbers still project in a really good manner. So those are the 2 guys. I love both of them. I'd be happy with either one.
Yeah, like you said, he does say no to walks, so certain person should be happy, no pointing any fingers. But like I said, his ground ball rate is down a little bit. Usually his career is usually about 40%. This year he's at 34%, a little bit below what his usual career average is. Like I said, I don't like Martin Perez as well either. A guy I totally forgot he even was here was Wade Miley. Gave him up. I think it was the Reds gave him up for nothing in the offseason. The Cubs claimed him
Because
for
the $10 million,
$10 million.
yeah, like we'll take it. Reds just want to have absolutely no payroll, so the Cubs were like, we're kind of competing, but we'll get. Well, we've talked about them already. That plan didn't work out.
That did not work out. But and then Merrill Kelly. I wonder, was there a person that brought this name to you that maybe you just took this bandwagon and ran? I don't know. I'm not pointing any fingers. But moving on to tier three, and this, like we said, tier three is going to cost an arm and a leg, big contract, or one we just don't know what the hell his team's going to do. And there's a second. Didn't even realize there's two Colorado Rockies players in tier three because you don't know what the hell the Colorado Rockies have planned. We'll start with that guy. We'll move to the back contract, and then we'll go to my dream scenario. We'll start with German Marquez, a guy thought was going to get traded last year. He gets an extension. He's extended. He has a contract. He's making $15 million next year, and then he has a club option for $16 million a year after that. So he's a free agent in 2025. 27-year-old. Pitcher's probably the greatest pitcher in Colorado Rockies history, which is kind of crazy to say. I think he's been one of the best pitchers ever. And I think he's better. Actually, he's better home splits. Right? The weirder thing is he's got better home splits in Colorado than on the road, which I think most pitchers are the opposite. 27-year-old righty, hard slider, fastball, pretty good in MLB to show. He can hit a little bit, but obviously pitchers don't hit as much. Right? Does German Marquez? You brought him up in the group in the chat. Is he a guy? Could you see him maybe more than Tyler Malley, or are you still thinking Malley's a better fit?
I remember he was a guy that because he was having a good year, he was in rumors. He's somebody that people were talking about. But, I mean, you look at his numbers, like the ground ball rate is still exactly the same. He gets a lot of ground balls. That's probably why he's so good in cores because he has, that 50% ground ball. But this year he's getting hit, maybe a little harder. But I'm just not sure why we've seen such a big jump in German Marquez because ERA over 5 and the FIP is 4.85. So he's just not pitching particularly well. But he still is young, 27 years old. He does have some good stuff. But I think that I probably prefer the Merrill Kelly because, he's been pitching. All of Arizona, we've seen a big improvement getting the coach from the Astros, Strom, getting him into that organization made such a big difference for all the Arizona pitchers. That's why we got 3 of them on this list. Almost had the whole Diamondbacks rotation. That's what kept them competitive for the early part of the season. So Marquez, he was a guy that I feel like maybe since he's fallen off a cliff so much and he's not being talked about and Colorado is dumb, if you could get him for nothing, it's worth considering. He's, like I say, he's still 27 years old, so there's still like so much room for growth. And with that ground ball rate, you feel like you could make it work. So I think that if they can get him for absolutely nothing, he's somebody I'd be willing to consider. Because like we said, you also would like some depth. I tell you what, they cannot let Thomas Zapucki make another start. You know what I mean? Like as much as you and some other people may like Jose Budo, I don't love calling a guy from AA to all of a sudden pitch in the major leagues. I think that's a pretty drastic jump. I'd like a guy that has been the major leagues before. So German Marquez, I like him, don't love him, but I think if the price is right, he's at least worth considering because the other teams, they'll be after the Castillo, the Montas, maybe even the Malley, because Malley's someone that's been talked about plenty. But I think that, maybe he's a guy who flies under the radar kind of late, last minute, and you just hope that the Rockies are dumb as usual.
Yeah, I get it. Just because you don't dream about him at night doesn't mean you can't jump from AA to the big league. Besides the point. Moving on to the bad contract, and a guy who kind of had a resurgence the first 8 starts of this year. We're like, we kind of wrote him off. He's done, and he's, kicked the horse as he likes to ride him. Madison Bumgarner. The contract is brutal. Next year, he's making $23 million. Then he's making $14, and then he's a free agent. But he also has $15 million of deferred money, and he has a modified no trade. Again, if you look at his general stats this year, he had a really good first 7 starts. The last 8, he's been slapped around, but overall his numbers don't look terrible. He's got only in 74 and 2/3 innings pitched, 79 hits allowed, 31 earned runs. He's allowed 12 homers. He only walked 23, struck out 53. So he's not really, he's not the Madison Bumgarner that we all know that outdueled that weak Thor in the playoff game. ERA 3.75. Obviously, you know the postseason history accumulated to this man's name. Obviously, you would like to get to that postseason. And, I'm not saying he has to start a game in the postseason, but hey, maybe he does something like he did in Game 7 when maybe you work this guy out the pen. Maybe instead of David Peterson as the long man, maybe you bring this guy as your long man in the postseason. Again, it's just an idea. Also, again, Arizona really doesn't have any assets. You would think there's a certain guy, which they gave him an extension in beating Ketel Marte. But maybe there's a guy you like. Maybe you can attach a Dalton Varsho. Maybe you're taking that contract on. You can get maybe, being a prospect hugging over the hell. They want to move a Corbin Carroll. They're not going to. Maybe a Bryce Jarvis. They want to attach a nice little prospect to take on the contract. I would do that in a heartbeat. What say you about the Mad Bum?
I think, like you said, if you attach him to somebody, maybe he's a little more intriguing because like we talked about Merrill Kelly, and we're going to talk about another Arizona pitcher next. But if it lowers the prospect cost on Merrill Kelly, why not? I think, like we said, the more pitching, the merrier, the more arms, the better. But I mean, I'm not saying that he's going to be good because, I mean, he's getting hit hard. The velo, there's nothing there. I mean, he's not who he used to be. I mean, the hope is that, like, if you do get to playoffs, maybe somehow he can turn the switch on. He is capable of handling pressure, pitching in the big moment. But, I mean, his arm just is not what he used to be. But if he's a, like, absolute throw-in to the point where, like, I could get a Merrill Kelly or the other guy we're going to talk about for pretty much nothing because I'm taking Bumgarner's contract, then I'll do it. But other than that, he's not someone I'm actively pursuing as like the one pitcher I'm bringing in.
Also, he's on this list because John Morosi pretty much said the Cardinals are aiming to try to acquire him at the deadline. So, again, there is some interest, so I just threw him on here. And lastly, in Tier 3, my dream scenario. Frank dreams about Francisco Alvarez every night. I've dreamt the last couple months thinking of this guy in the Mets rotation. Maybe one of the more underrated starters in the league. I'm not saying he's this generational, but it is Zach Gallant, 26-year-old right-hander, 3 years of control, not touching free agency till 2025. And yep, as I said, it's going to cost an arm and a leg. The Mets did reach out to Arizona in the offseason. When they were talking about Tyler Malley, they were talking to Arizona about Zach Gallant. The reports from Michael Mayer, I believe. But Zach Gallant is one of these guys who I would love to see. How Mets fans love Tyler McGill, that's how much I would love this guy. And I would flip Tyler McGill for Zach Gallant if it was possible, easily in a heartbeat. You look at this year, 13 starts, 71 and 2/3 inning pitch. He's allowed only 53 hits, 23 earned runs, 7 homers, 71 strikeouts, 19 walks. Says no to walks. We like that. ERA of 2.92 with a whip just above 1 at 101. Again, they flipped him for Jazz Chisholm in the offseason of 2019. I'm pretty sure, but obviously they flipped him. Jazz, he was a part of that god-awful Cardinals Marcell Ozuna trade. The fact that the Cardinals gave up Sandy Alcantara and Zach Gallant for a half a season of Marcell Ozuna. Oh, Lord, that great job, John Mozeliak. You are a great GM. How the hell do you still have a job? Frank, will my dream become a reality?
I mean, if you put Tyler McGill in it, it gets a little more likely because it's like you said, it's gonna cost a lot, and I would be much more willing to give up the big asking price for Zach Gallant than I would Castillo or Frankie Montas or anything. Like, who doesn't want Zach Gallant? I mean, I feel like that's kind of universal. Everybody would love him, but you don't know if Arizona is quite ready to move him quite yet because the contract is so valuable. He's still so young, and there's just that untapped potential and huge upside with him that you really, I mean, it's just like I said, everybody would love to have him. So if you put, I just wonder what it would cost. I mean, you're looking at, maybe put Matt Allen in there. You probably got to put Mauricio in there. Maybe one of the other top 10 prospects you're talking about, the unknown mystery man, the Joker, so to speak, of the bunch in the farm system. But you'd have to give up quite a bit. But I think that he's a guy that, so he's so young, he could help you for so long that you maybe do it. I mean, you talk about Zach, think of Zach Wheeler. Mets give up Carlos Beltran, who at the time, he was still a good player. But the mindset was, we're giving up Beltran, but we're going to get a guy who's going to help us for a really long time. And I think that Zach Gallant would be that kind of guy because Max Scherzer's only here for 3 years. Jacob deGrom, we don't know how much longer we get. And this might be Jacob deGrom's last year. I mean, who knows at this point? I mean, nothing is set in stone. Carrasco is up there in age. Chris Bassett, how many years you have? Maybe a couple years. You're going to need another ace, coming up the pipeline that's really going to establish himself. And you can't trust Matt Allen after all the injuries he's had. So if you need another ace up your sleeve, another ace in the hole, maybe Zach Gallant is that guy where you, at the time, you're like, wow, man, that's a lot. But if you're fully committed to him, you give him a contract extension. It's like, well, this guy's helped us for so long that the asking price, it was worth it.
Yeah, he really found the ace in the hole, almost like trading Matt Allen for would be his value's high. Maybe a good idea trading Matt Allen. Maybe it's a good idea. But yeah, I'd like you said, I'd give up McGill and I would throw Allen both in the trade. If that's what it started. If I can keep Mauricio and make Allen the main piece, obviously I would love that. I would throw Vientos in that trade. I would give up a farm for Zach Gallant. Obviously, again, he has control, so he's not going to get moved. I would be shocked if he gets moved to the deadline. But also, Arizona's like Colorado. They don't know what the hell they're doing. So maybe you make a call. Maybe, again, Matt Allen, maybe throw Tyler McGill. Maybe you throw some more names around it. Maybe you say, hey, you want to move Ketel Marte too? What are you going to do with him? Just some ideas to throw around. Now,
and you'll take Bumgarner's contract to lower the prospect cost.
Exactly. And then you want David Peterson too. You can have David Peterson too. You want no. You want Taijuan Walker. You can have him too.
So hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. Again, let me know what starting pitchers you think the Mets should target. Like I said, stay tuned for the other parts of these videos, whether it's the DH video on Andrew's channel or the bullpen and bench video that's coming out later this week. You got a bunch of videos this week on the Mets Weekly channel where Andrew and Carson talk about all the different grades that they've given the Mets, the outfield, the pitchers, the infielders. So make sure to check that out. Obviously, my weekly recap every Sunday, and if they don't have a good series against the Rangers, it's going to be a very rage-filled one because I have a lot of thoughts about this Astros series that I'm saving until then. But until then, be safe, be smart, be healthy, and let's go Mets.